It's finally happening, besties. Welcome to the final episode of season 1 of Don't Cry, You're So Sexy. Aha, the coolest little podcast in town. I have recorded this intro like fucking 3 times, and yeah, finally, I think I'm gonna stick with this one. So, man, yes, this is like our very final episode of the podcast. No, not the podcast, but like the first season of the podcast. I mean, I still have a lot of shitty opinions to give, so won't be ending that very, very soon. So, yeah, this is the 10th episode of the podcast. And you will see the title in the title, haha. But I actually did a whole season. Like, I actually, fulfilled like that milestone. And usually, like, numeric milestones, I mean, I'm not a big fan because it's just a number. There are so many other numbers. But, like, this is, like, my actual brainchild and something I worked really hard on and something I tried to do as consistently as possible. So, I'm really proud of myself. And I think it's the first time that I've been so adamant about pushing through with, something that benefits me personally. Like, sometimes, like, when you're trying to do something, and this just basically ties into the passion projects episode, that, like, if you're doing something that has no monetary or has no, like, professional value or doesn't have any, it's not going to look good on your CV or anything. When you're just doing something that makes you happy, you kind of, like, for me anyway, I don't really tend to follow through like a milestone with it. Like, I'll do it on and off. It just makes me happy. Yeah, that's fine. It's not something I make time for consistently in my life. And I think with the podcast, this is the first time I've ever done that. So I'm really proud of myself for, this is like my me time, and consistently having this me time, week after week, and most of all, getting to talk to you guys and getting to put this out there for you guys has just been such a dream come true. And I'm so happy that I stuck through with it. So, all right, life updates. My internship is still going on. I'm in like the 4th week, meaning I've done 1 month and there is 1 more to go. So wish me luck. I did this really big thing today, like a big workshop for this university in Delhi, and it was really good. It was about social media. And I know I've talked about how internships come with their highs and lows, and there have been lows this week as well, but I think I'm learning to deal with them. And I can't say that it's not getting to me. It is, but I think I'm just trying to not be so disappointed in myself that it's getting to me. And yeah, just try to think about anyway the next thing that's gonna come. So I don't know whether that's good or not. I don't know whether that's gonna take me to therapy or whatever, but it is what is happening. So there we go. Okay, so my plant has, like, its leaves are kind of turning black towards the end, and I tried to Google why this is happening, but there are like 50 different reasons and all of them are so conflicting. Like, it must be happening if you're not giving enough water to your plant, or you're giving too much water to your plant. It's happening because you're using too much pesticide or not enough pesticide, too much sunlight or not enough sunlight. Like, which one is it? Like, just tell me, like, a straight answer. But I guess that's what being a mother is about, It's about, there are no answers, and you just have to try everything to figure out what works for you and your child. In this case, my child being my plant. Anyway, yeah. Right now, I am moving out of my room in London, right? And by moving out, I basically just mean, like, my stuff is being removed from there, because obviously I'm not in London right now. And my flatmate is helping me out with that. Huge shout out to her. And I just feel so fucking anxious that, like, either they're gonna leave something behind, or all of my stuff is just gonna be like way too much stuff, and I will have to pay them a lot of money, which I do not have, because broke vibes only, I guess. This summer we are all broke. Anyway, that's happening, and it just, like, the one thing that's giving me the most anxiety is the fact that, like, strangers are out there touching my stuff, and it just makes me very antsy. So I'm just like, kind of thankful for my flatmate who's helping me out with this. Yeah, okay, so let's see. That's the update, friends. Like, that's why I'm like constantly checking my phone right now, because she's texting me everything that's happening. Like, they moved this, they moved that. Like, okay, yay. Okay, yeah, not going to freak out, but all right, let's go. So, topic for today is creating and connecting. And the idea for this basically came to me because if you follow me on my private, I posted the story where I was reading a Ruskin Bond novel. And like, that was the very first Ruskin Bond book I read. Like, it's a children's novel. Yeah, it just has like some short stories in it, which are all based in like Masuri or Dehradun or something. And it's called The Room of Many Colors, and I really like it. It's very fun. I used to, like, I haven't read it in obviously like fucking 15, not 15, like 10, 12, 13 years. But I remember loving it so much. And yeah, now I'm reading it again. I'm reading a copy, which is a signed copy, which my friend Sarah got for me. So huge shout out to her. I love you, Sarah. It was the best birthday gift ever. And yeah, like, it just hit me so hard that something this man, Ruskin Bond, created like probably in his 20s or 30s, and he was like, living in fucking, I don't know, some town. Maybe he was living in UK, maybe he was living in fucking Uttarakhand. I have no idea. Like, he just like created this thing, and like, it made me feel so much less lonely as a child. And I've been reading it every day before I sleep, and it's making me so much less lonelier now. And yeah, that's just like the power of something that you create. It's like something people can connect with, and it's something that is of so much value to people, and it means something to them. And I realized that I don't know to what extent, but somewhere, like, I am somewhat doing that same thing. Like, I'm creating something, and you all listen to it, and you all relate with it. And I mean, if it means something to you, then that's I can't even, like, that's not even something that I ever aimed for or something I ever imagined. And that thing is happening. So I thought I'd just talk about, it would just be fitting to talk about creating and connecting with people for the end and the final episode of the first season, because yeah, that's what's meant most to me during this entire journey. And it's just been such a special experience, which has made my life so much better and made me feel so much more assured in my skills and my identity, and just my sense of being. So yeah, I thought it'd just be a disservice not to talk about this experience in the final episode. So to start off with, there are like two sides to art, right? Somebody who's creating it and the person who's consuming it. So like, consuming art has always been such, like, it's so amazing. Like, it helps you feel less lonely, and it just, you relate to it, and it's such a beautiful ass experience. Like, I love art. Everybody loves art. You have to be some sort of, I don't know, like, weirdo not to like art. Guys, what the fuck? I am literally re-recording this. Not re-recording this. Like, the last thing I recorded when I said that if you, like, you're weird if you don't like art, I recorded that literally an hour ago, and then my boss texted me, and there's this thing I literally forgot to do, so I literally like speed did that in the past hour. Good news, my stuff is now packed, all back there in London. They have packed it in 5 boxes, so that's it. That's a fair amount of boxes, I think, just a little bit more than what I hoped for, because they charge me by the box, so I just don't want to pay too much money, of course. Anyway, yeah, you're a fucking weirdo if you don't like art, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make any judgments on this podcast. But like, yeah, most people like art. Like, art is so fun. Like, it inspires you, calms you down. Like, my favorite activity in the world, like one of my happiest places in life, has been like, there was this time around this time, 2 years ago, where I was pretty anxious and I was having a bit of the depressos. And I went for this workshop, and it was held in a museum, like an art gallery. And they made us, like, sit down in the art gallery, and gave us a chance to just like go around there, do whatever we wanted to, look at the art pieces and write, just like write a poem, like write anything. And it was such a good experience. Like I genuinely felt like Rekha Jha. If you know me, you know that I follow her and I idolize her a lot. So yeah, it was a very Rekha Jha-esque thing to do. And yeah, it was such a calming experience, and it just made me feel so much better about where I was in life. So, just consuming art can be so fun. Listening to music. Music is art. I can't imagine my life without music. Yeah, so that's just like an absolute pleasure. And I mean, I don't know, like, the bad things, like if there is anything that's not so great that comes with it. I guess that, like, sometimes, you consume problematic content, which is also considered art, and you kind of start to internalize that, or at least, like, start thinking that way if you're consuming too much of that. And that's not fun, like, take Kangana Ranaut. Like, she's an artist, technically. But people, still idolize her a lot and they love her movies. But, even though her movies are not a reflection of who she is as a person, most of them anyway, the whole separating the art from the artist debate, right? Like, Kangana Ranaut is a great actress, but is she a great human being? No, in my opinion, anyway. So, like, yeah, that's the thing that you need to be mindful of when you're consuming art. And I'm sure that I would, be able to have more nuanced thoughts on this if I wasn't a dumbass bitch. But the fact is that I am. So I don't have any nuanced thoughts on just like consuming art, other than the fact that it makes me feel a lot of positive emotions. And sometimes it makes me feel bad, but it's not because of the art itself, it's just because of who I am as a person, right? Like, for example, if I just binge watch several Netflix shows one after the other, that's, those shows are art. And me consuming them, it just like, makes my brain like a mushy, mess, and I can't decipher my own thoughts properly or anything, and everything just blurs in together, and I feel numb after I binge a Netflix show or whatever. But that's on me, it's not because, of the art. It's not because of the show. Like, if I was consuming it like a normal person and watching it, once a day, like one episode a day, then that would work out fine. But yeah, it doesn't, because I don't watch one episode a day. So that's my opinions on consuming art. Another thing, I just feel like connecting is so much easier. Connecting to art is so much more easier than creating art. And connecting, it's almost as if it just comes naturally, because I think as human beings and as social animals, like, we have that inherent instinct or that inherent need to be able to relate to something, or to, see our own reflections in something and find value in it. And that's something that's very intrinsic in us. So I think that's why consuming art or connecting with art is easier. And creating art, I feel, it's the next level, it's the next step. And I don't think that, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but most of art is based around nature, and nature is something that just exists, and we don't need to make an effort to realize it into art, or manifest it into something else. Like, we can just connect with nature. So I think nature, of course, is the first form of art, and it's the first sort of version of art, and everything else comes after. So maybe creating art isn't intrinsically something that we are meant to do. Maybe we're just meant to connect with art. But the fact is that we do create art, and for some people, creating art is easier than consuming art. I don't know, actually. Maybe creating art is just as easy to them as connecting with art. And, those are some really special and some really genius people, because that could never be me. But yeah, I think that dichotomy is definitely there. Alright, okay, this is like 2 days after I actually sat down to record this episode. And now I'm recording this on like Saturday night, and originally I was doing it on Thursday night. So as you can tell, it's probably, it has been a challenging couple of days. Just like a lot has happened, and I'm very tired, and I am very done with Mercury retrograde. Like I mentioned in the last episode, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Like you think one aspect of your life is getting better, and suddenly the other one will go downhill. So it's just like a lot of damage control that is happening, and I'm not enjoying myself. So yeah, that. Sorry for giving this like unsolicited update in the middle of the episode, but okay, let's go on to creating art. Maybe it doesn't come naturally to us, okay? Maybe it's not like the normal thing to do, and I'm completely hypothesizing here. This is not like a fact or a truth or anything. It's just a wild perspective I had while recording, the podcast. And yeah, so in a way, to me, like the portrayals of art and artists, especially the way artists create art and the way they go about imagining it and like bringing it to life, it almost has a very like manic pixie girl vibe. Like it's just so, yeah, I'm quirky, I do art. Like I mean, it's kind of a testament to the fact that the pixie girl, like the whole trope is just so overdone, and it's so common that like fucking creating art, which should be like a more beautiful and organic process, is now what comes to mind when I think of the manic pixie girl thing. So it almost has a very like quirky, yeah, like I'm special, and and maybe it's because I've never been too consistent or too keen an artist, to be honest. So yeah, I don't think it comes naturally to me, and maybe it's just my perception of people who create art to be manic pixie girlish, and maybe it's not the same for you, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you do create art. Just like the way it's sometimes portrayed in the media, to me just feels like it almost is shown to be this crazy genius process, and you lose friends in the way of doing it, and you don't care about like people, and you're mean, and you're so passionate about it, you can't think about anything else. And yeah, like remember that fucking movie Kite? Was it Kites? I don't know. Guzarish, I think. Yeah, Guzarish, in which Hrithik Roshan and Aishwarya Rai played like an artist and his assistant, and yeah, some shit like that. That guy in the movie, Hrithik Roshan, he was shown to be like this, just like a lot of like insane levels of passion and conviction, and he hates everybody, and there's only this one person who understands him, and blah blah blah. I don't know why that's the first representation of artists that came to my mind. It is a fairly common depiction, you have to agree. But if we do consider this podcast to be art, right? Like if we do say, or if I do say that, okay, this podcast is art, it's some kind of art, like it doesn't feel like very manic pixie girlish at all. I am passionate about it. I mean, it's something that brings me great joy, and it's something I look forward to, and it's something that just I feel like I might be good at. Like I'm still doubting myself about it after 10 episodes. So you can imagine, like there is not a lot of conviction surrounding it. Like I'm still like about it, like in my head, like it's not like, okay, this is my one true dream and this is the only thing I have to do in life. It just brings me joy, and it's very simple. Why did I say art of creating? Anyway, the process of creating art feels very simple to me, and like I don't feel like, I mean, yes, sometimes I do like have one of those like either caffeine induced or 3 a.m. in the night, and you're on Pinterest and suddenly you want to change your life, that kind of thing sort of induces that urge to create, and urge to, like I have just so many ideas at once. I could like think like, okay, I'm just gonna record like 3 episodes back to back, but I have never done that, and I don't think I will do that. And like in the past week, in fact, I've had these really great ideas, but I only have them for 10 seconds, and in those 10 seconds I'm like, why the fuck am I taking this break? Why am I taking this break? I can just like do the second season now only. Like I don't need to give a shit about giving my brain space to recuperate, which is what I need to do right now because of just how things are, right? So yeah, there are moments, but I don't think that it's a sustaining factor of my art form. Oh my god, I feel so pretentious calling it an art form. Yeah, I don't think that those extreme levels of passion and conviction and those sort of intrusive urges to do, the podcast have anything to do with the fact that I've done it for 10 weeks straight. I think it's more to do with the fact that I get a lot of positive feedback for doing it. I, think about certain things consistently. Like, I've never made an episode about a thought that came to me and then I just made it an entire 40-minute episode. That's never happened. Like, I do need to sit down and jot down my thoughts. And I think there was one episode where I didn't make any notes and just went for it. And I don't think that episode was that great. So yeah, like, art to me is a more consistent thing. It's not always an extremely passionate, like, yes, in the back of my head I am passionate about my podcast, but I'm not consistently thinking that okay, this is my passion, and I'm not operating out of a space of being passionate about it. I'm just operating out of a space of like, yes, this is something I have to do because I sort of owe it to other people, and in a way I also owe it to myself because I just want to do right by my own decision to do something for 10 weeks. Like, I just want to prove to myself that okay, I can be consistent with something. So it doesn't have anything to do with the art form itself or just like the craze of the art form. Although in a way I do think that what also motivates me to do the podcast sometimes is just the fact that it's a space for introspection. And like right now while I'm saying all of these things, these thoughts are coming to me as I speak, right? Not that like I randomly decided to do this episode, but these are thoughts that I have in my head in passing, but I don't articulate them. So I think it's a good practice for me to be able to articulate them in this form. And like I mentioned before, like this sometimes just feels like a public journal on the internet, which you guys also listen to. So sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it comes out of the need to just be grounded in the moment. And I've mentioned also that sometimes when you're going through life, it just feels like you're not processing what's happening to you. And I think that this space also gives me that opportunity. So I'm so thankful for you guys and the fact that you've helped me sustain it. Also, I'm really sorry. Like, it's like 8 in the evening right now. And yeah, it's like work traffic outside my window. So you will hear a lot of horns. And you'll possibly also hear my upstairs neighbors moving their shit. So apologies about that. Yeah. So that's what kind of motivates me to do art. Like I said, it's not always the crazed, passionate, drive. And yeah, I just want to talk about like the fact that there are so many things that don't go right, and it's not like some parent or some force in my life is stopping me from creating art, and nobody's letting me pursue my passion. And wow, Ogu is barking for some reason. He never barks anyway. Yeah, it's not like somebody's stopping me from pursuing my passion and therefore I have to fight for it or some shit. Like, those are again the kind of blocks you see in movies and shit. But to me, not the only, but one of the major blocks that I sometimes have is just mental blocks. And sometimes my brain will just refuse to think about, oh my god, I'm gonna give Ogu a minute. Update, my dog has calmed down. Anyway, yeah, sometimes my brain just refuses to cooperate in the procedure of thinking the thoughts that I want to put out into the world, right? And it does this for many things. Like I mentioned before in the Mercury retrograde episode that, like sometimes, my brain is just not letting me do this. I mean, I was pretty busy at that point, but as a result of that, my brain did just not have the capacity to do this other project I was really keen on working on. So yeah, like things like that, like especially after the, at the peak of the second wave in Delhi. Yeah, just like the aftermath of it, like I didn't have anything to do. I didn't even have an internship at that point, but my brain was just lost for words and lost for ideas for a couple of weeks. And yeah, not to be self-deprecating on the pod, but like I'm not very proud of the episodes I recorded at that point. So yeah, that. I mean, I'm not proud to admit that, but like, yes, that's something that I do feel. I think it happens with everybody. Like, when you're a writer, it's called a writer's block. And I'm pretty sure there's a thing as an artist's block, but I just have not read about that terminology because I don't consider myself an artist. Although the fact that I'm recording this episode on this theme might go to say otherwise. So yeah, burnout. Burnout is a very, very real thing. Again, sort of happened to me during the second wave, and I just didn't have enough brain space. Why did I say brain space? I did not have enough brain space, head space, sorry. The capacity to think and the capacity to articulate myself. And I do feel burnt out these days as well, because just like working full time, I'm not enjoying myself. I'm just not having fun at all. So I love how I just started off, my internship. Like, yeah, I'm really enjoying the work from home life, and like 1 month in, I'm just no. No, I don't want to work full time at all. I just want money somehow without working. Anyway, so yeah, burnout is a real thing, and these days, I mean, I do have ideas, but then I feel with burnout, the thing is that you don't feel motivated to actually go through the process of recording something. Like, consistently throughout the week, I will think of ideas. Okay, I want to talk about this on the podcast, and I want to mention this thing, and I'll, put down little reminders in my notes app that, hey, remember to include this when you're talking about so and so topic. But then, like, I don't ever actually want to take out my laptop and plug in the mic and open up the app which I used to record and actually record. It seems like a monumental amount of effort to do after you had a full work day. And that's why I almost always end up doing the most substantial part of the whole podcasting thing on the weekends, because that's when I'm free, right? Which is why I fucking hate alternative working Saturdays. Like, just shut the fuck up, okay? Enough of this late capitalism bullshit. Anyway, burnout. Then, like, priorities, okay? Sometimes priorities get in the way, and by this I mean, like, I've said so many times in the past that this podcast is like me time to me, and it's something that I'm doing for myself, and like self-discovery and expression. But then, like, you start prioritizing things like work and, as you should, like, and your friendships and your relationship. And as you should, like, you definitely should be doing these things. But then I will forget that, like, okay, I need to put my foot down and I need to set boundaries. And I do need to take out time for myself because I'm feeling miserable. And yeah, like, today was actually one of the very, very rare days. Like, today was a non-working Saturday for me, so it was just such a blessing to like wake up when I wanted to. Like, I slept till 10:30. Like, I woke up at 7 to take my dog for a walk, but then I slept again, and then I slept till 10:30, which is just wow. Like, that has not happened in a very long time. So did things like that. I just sometimes prioritize other things over the podcast, and while it is important to do that, you also need to set boundaries and set timings in your head. Like, not to sound like a crazy organized structured as bitch, because I really am not, but I do think that it could be helpful for me to do this in the future. Again, it's like easier said than done, possibly. Like, I should be my own priority as well, right? And if this is significantly helping my mental well-being, then why not? This should be somewhere along the top of the list. So I need to work on that, I guess. So for me, it's not like, my art form is my topmost priority. It's like a side hustle. I hate that word. Yeah, it's like a little side hustle, but yeah, we doing it, folks. All right. I guess, like, even after all of this, like, I just, I've been talking about how much this podcast means to me and how much I am grateful for this space to be able to express myself and grow. But the other side of that is I feel guilty for taking this break. Like, I feel guilty for, choosing to go on this 2-3 week. I don't know how long it'll take, but choosing to go on this break makes me feel like a bad artist, or let me just say a bad creator actually, because this podcast may or may not qualify to be art in your definition. I completely get that, because same. So I just feel like a bad creator for thinking about taking a break, because not only is this a space for my expression, it's also a space for you to, like, you, my audience, to like listen and chill out and relax and take a break. And yeah, I just feel really bad, like whenever I think about, like, when I was thinking about, okay, I need to change my episode release timings, I need to release it on a Monday instead of Saturday. And yeah, I had a total freak out moment over there where I was like, oh no, but what if some people like listening to their podcast on like Saturday night or Sunday night before they go to sleep, and it's like a little restart thing for their week. And what if I can't release it on like in the mornings on Monday, because maybe some people like to listen to it on Monday mornings to start out their week. And I had like a whole freak out moment about this. Yeah, like really, like, just I feel so like worried that my actions are going to offend someone, even though I try to remind myself that, okay, hey, this is about your main character complex, so stop giving a shit about other people. No, I'm kidding. I mean, like, this is something that you need to be accountable for to yourself, and then other people's decisions don't need to have a lot of bearing on it, as long as you're staying true to what you had decided. Again, like, way easier said than done, but yeah, I'm trying, guys. I really am. And yeah, I feel happy that I'm taking a break, and then I feel guilty for being happy, but I'll just try to enjoy it, I guess. And also, little plug over here, but you guys should totally join the Clubhouse group that I made. And it's for like the podcast and people who listen to the podcast. And we hosted 2 rooms yesterday, and it was extremely fun. And yeah, like, I know I chat on Clubhouse a lot, but I still do not like it. But it's, I mean, as long as it gives me a way to interact with you guys, yeah, dude, it's all worth it. And if you need like Clubhouse invites, let me know. Alright, I have plugs. Sorry, okay. Recording this podcast has also made me feel so much more respect for people who engage in creativity or creative activities as a side hustle. Again, I'm using that word not to be cringe, but like, yeah, like, even if it's like somebody who does a small jewelry business store on Instagram, or if somebody is posting art on their page, or somebody who just makes their art form their side hustle, if they want to focus on something else in life at the the present moment, wherever it is, and just consistently doing it, and not completely giving up on it just because other things are higher up on the priority ladder. And I feel like that's something I have not been able to do so much in the past. And realizing how much effort it actually takes has been so inspiring, and it has made me feel so proud of all the creative people I know who are doing creativity on the side. So I'm really proud of you guys. It's just a very special way of sustaining your passion. I don't know, if I maybe took art as a full-time job, I would be worried, because I would be earning money out of it, and that would maybe sometimes be my drive to create more. But the fact that some people just do it because they like doing it, and then they are so consistent with it, and sometimes they reach such great heights with it, like, I think that's a different kind of way in which they're doing it and sustaining it, and it's really, really fascinating. Dude, I made fucking notes for the podcast, right? Like, for this episode, and I just cannot read my handwriting. What is this? Like, I'm trying to decipher the next point, but I just can't. Okay, yeah, and the last thing that's sort of sometimes a block to me is just people's opinions and how I'm going to be perceived, right? My mom listens to my podcast and she gives me feedback about, how she thinks I'm doing, and it is constructive criticism, it is constructive feedback, but because she's my mom and I live with her, it's very consistent as well, and yeah, it's like a constant reminder that I am being perceived, and the perception of me that is out there in the world is, I mean, something I can't control. A and B, like, it can be positive or negative. So yeah, there's not much I can do about that except feel anxious, which I do. And I don't know if you guys know about this, but I had a few troll messages from the same person a while back, and this person was basically just, misinterpreting things I would say on my story, and then they would like listen to my entire podcast just to sort of shit on the entire content. And I said in my stories when I was responding to these comments that I do appreciate criticism, but it has to be constructive. And the thing with this was that, this perception of me exists, but the way that I am coming to know of it is not very constructive at all. And I guess, like, people are allowed to have those opinions on me. I can't stop them, but I know a lot of creators just make their peace with this kind of thing where they're like, yeah, like, we can't fight every battle. But it was just so hard for me to not reply to those messages and not combat that perception of me. And it took me a whole day of constantly thinking about it to finally make my peace with the fact that, okay, that all people are not going to think positively of me, and people are going to misinterpret things that I say. And that is just hard for me to do as a person, and I'm going to say as an Aries sun, it is quite hard for me to do. Sorry for being an astrology bitch. But yeah, like, I just cannot pick and choose my battles, and I like fighting, especially when the person is distant from me and there are no real consequences to the fighting. So yeah, like, I really wanted to do that, but then I had to really control that urge to not beef with this random anonymous troll in my DMs. So yeah, like, it's so sad that something that you're creating with such pure intent can be misinterpreted in so many weird ways. And like, I've seen this, like, there's this creator on Instagram. She has this page called Shreya's Kitchen, and she posts a lot of like interesting and fun like dishes, and they're beginner friendly, and it's a cooking page basically. And she gives like a little bit commentary as the background music for her reels, and she gets like a fair amount of hate. And like, food is one thing in the world where unless there is some obviously problematic incidents attached to it, like how homophobic Chick-fil-A is, like unless there's something like that attached to it, it can be a fairly unproblematic, it can be a fairly almost bland concept politically, right? I mean, I don't know, I'm sure there's like the politics of food as well, but it doesn't have to be so like charged in a combative, like, food doesn't have to be combative, and people on these TikToks and these Instagram reels comment section just will find the weirdest and the wildest things to say about somebody who is literally making food and giving some commentary in the back. Like, they will comment on how bad her voice sounds. It's like, shut the fuck up, she's making like yummy ass food, okay? Like, why don't you just shut up? People will just have comments on all of this shit, and it's so sad that when creativity is coming out of such a pure intent, and it's just coming out of the place of like wanting to assist people with what you have and just wanting to express yourself, there can be so much hate attached to it. And I feel that's especially poignant with works of marginalized creators. And when they create work, they just, like, the amount of hate they get is just like, it's insane. Like, you will not see any other, like, maybe able-bodied, white, or in our case Savarna, like, person getting that amount of hate. Like, I mentioned this in the influencer episode as well, that so much of the criticism that creators get is often backed by misogyny. And yeah, like, this is so true for creators to marginalized communities, that they will get so much shit for creating that you, at some point, you just have to realize that it's not about their art, it's about their identity. It's the identity that is being shat on. And like, in the one single troll message I got, like, I am not marginalized in my country, I'm really not, but I could really see the fact that even in that one message I got from that troll person, it just got so personal so fast. Like, it wasn't just about my podcast anymore, it became an attack on my character and image. And even though I do recognize that my podcast is a reflection of my character and image, and it is often about it, yeah, it just got really personal and really like belittling almost. Or not almost, like it was belittling, and like somebody really wanted to hurt you with those words for expressing yourself, which sucks. And I can't even imagine how more marginalized creators deal with this. But what the fuck, dude? Like, you have to be really messed up to, passing off absolute meanness as constructive criticism. Like, that shit is not okay. So yeah, I think like that's the challenge that I face most often, is that I'm just so worried about how I'm gonna be perceived. And with the clubhouse room too, like it affected me a lot. Like, how am I gonna be perceived if I, go up and become a speaker on the thing? And yeah, it's very annoying, and I just think about it a lot. So yeah, hopefully I will get over that eventually. But yeah, another thing I worry about is like the finiteness of my opinions. Like, I'm not sure that's the right word, but just the fact that, I basically do this podcast to talk about things I'm thinking about. What if one day I don't have, topics to talk about, like for an entire 40 minutes or 30 minutes? What if like I cover all my bases? And what next? Like, what if I invite a bunch of guests and then that's it? Like, what happens after? And I do recognize that yes, this will end at some point, as most things do. But I'm so scared about it. Like, I'm so scared about, like, what if I regress into being a dumb bitch and then I just have no thoughts and opinions, no matter how hard I try. So yeah, I worry about that a lot, to be honest. I don't know why. Like, I need to chill out. And I guess one more thing I'm always concerned about is just the fact that I have my platform. Like, I have the ability to record this podcast. I have a mic to do that. I have like a room of my own where I can record my podcast and shit. And that is a huge privilege. And just having a platform and being able to say my opinions on it freely, somewhat freely, is so much of a privilege. And I just want to make sure that I don't misuse that privilege, and that I am able to extend any assistance I can to people who need it more than me in whatever ways I possibly can. So yeah, the platform and privilege thing is always worrisome to me. And yeah, like I don't want to become one of those people who create things and then just because they're getting good feedback on the things that they are creating, they just don't talk about anything else. Like, I do think it's important to talk about things, even if you're quote unquote a creator and your main job is to create like art of some form. It doesn't exempt you from being aware about the world and speaking about things and lending your platform to people who require it more than you. So I mean, it's still a pretty tiny platform and only like 20 people listen to my podcast per week, but yeah, like you get what I mean. Okay, and like now that we're done talking about the podcast, I just want to talk about like reels. So you all know that I made reels on my Instagram to sort of promote each episode when it comes out, right? And like I don't know what to say. Like one of my reels when I started my page kind of went viral for the size of the page I had. So at that point I had like some 40 followers, and these are like all the people who were following on my private account. And then like I put out this reel and it got like 11k views or something. And yeah, like it just was an instant barrage of followers and like people I can now call friends, and I talk to these people every week. So that's so exciting to me, and I think that made me take reels kind of more seriously. And when I do an episode, I create a reel for it. But then like creating reels, like is that like I just get so worried that okay, is this really what I should be spending my energy on? Shouldn't I be thinking of like actual episode ideas? And sometimes I'm worried that my reels are actually more popular than my podcast is. And yeah, I don't know what to think about it. Like, should I do reels as a full-time job? I really don't think I should, because consuming reels can get so numbing. It can just like your brain just goes on autopilot, just like Loki, it's shutting down. and all you're doing is consuming. And I don't know if I want to be part of that. Like, my friends make amazing reels, and I've, cherished those reels so much. But yeah, like, my experience consuming reels is not very meaningful to me. And on the other hand, my experience consuming podcasts is a very meaningful experience to me. So I guess, like, what I create is also directly related, to how I perceive what I consume, like what I think of what I consume. So I'm less likely to make a blog, even though I've tried so many times, because I find blog posts boring. That's just how it is. And I find podcasts more interesting. And this has been a huge shift. Like, I was not like this 5 years ago, but here I am now. So I guess in that way, consuming and connecting to something is really, really related to how you view yourself as a creator and how you view your output of creating things. And yeah, so I think those are all my thoughts on connecting and creating. And I just want to finish this off, finish this first season off by saying that through all of this, the one thing that's always a constant in my head, and it just keeps me going, and it's like, I know I mentioned this in the beginning, but you guys and your feedback and your words and your compliments, not to sound like a narcissist, but this all means so much to me, and you all make it worth it. And your responses and the conversations I have with you all, it just makes it all so worth it, even though I feel like this entire list of problems when I create. Yeah, like I mentioned, yeah, there's a bunch that I feel during this whole process of creating, but the fact that at the end of the day you guys are connecting with it and it makes you feel something, if it's something you cherish in your life, like, that's just blows my mind, and that is so special to me. And as I finish this off, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for listening. 10 episodes, that's a lot. So yeah, especially if you've been here since the start, thank you so much. Like, wow, like, this is crazy to me, and you make my day. And oh my god, I'm getting emotional. Yeah. Yes, you all just make this whole process worth going through, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm so thankful to have an audience in you guys, and I'm so thankful that my audience is the way it is, and it comprises of the people it comprises of. Yeah, thank you all so much for listening. I will catch you all in the next season. I am planning to, like, change things up around here a little bit, and I think that with the lockdown finally lifting, and me getting the opportunity to perhaps meet my friends, I might or might not be asking some of my friends to appear as guests on the next season. So yeah, I'm so excited about that. And yeah, buddies, it's gonna be an exciting new season. Yes, I'm very, very excited for the new changes. Like, I'm excited for the break. I'm trying not to feel guilty about it. I'm excited to just think about new ideas, and take this time to sort of gain a perspective on the 10 episodes that have gone by and the next 10 to come. So thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for listening. I cherish you. I am celebrating you on this fine evening. Yeah, thank you so much. You're awesome. Bye bye.